DOGE officially in session, a packed House today for the first meeting of the DOGE Caucus on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers outline the agenda for how exactly they plan to cut waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government.
Federal employees are expected to be first on the chopping block. Right now, Washington, D.C. alone has over 162,000 federal workers. Our next guest represents a state that ranks fifth in the nation for federal jobs with nearly 130,000 employees.
Joining us now, DOGE Caucus co-chair, Texas Congressman Pete Sessions. Congressman, people living in your state who work for the federal government, if their jobs are on the line, are going to be howling to the heavens about, how dare you take my job from me?
Well, I think it's far more simple than that. We have a feeling that, first of all, employees need to report back to work. We have in Washington, D.C., the largest federal office here, which is called the Ronald Reagan Center, and a company that provides the security cards for people there had indicated that they believe more than or around 60% of employees there reported less than 1 day a week. But this administration said the goal was 40%. This is something that will not continue. It is true. We're going to size up the needs of the federal government, the workforce, and people, if they want to be a part of it, need to return back to work. I think this is something that President Trump and the OPM and OMB will insist on. It's something that industry is doing, and it's time to go back to work.
So how much of this obviously the executive branch can't do all of this, but you would think it's the executive branch. He's the executive over the executive branch. They all ultimately report to him one way or another, and obviously you all control the purse strings. But how much of it can he get done on his own, and how much of it requires you and your colleagues to come along and force it to happen?
Well, in fact, it was President Biden that made the determination that they would have a workforce conditions where 40% of the workforce would be at work every single day. In conversation and in letters and in testimony back and forth, that was never achieved. So the bottom line is that federal workers believe that they can work from home. The bottom line is the results indicate not just the passport office and not just the IRS and not just virtually every other department, non-law enforcement, non-military, is behind in their paperwork. If you retired as a federal employee today, the Office of Management Personnel was taking up to 6 months before you got your first retirement paycheck. And that is because they don't report to work and get their work done. The current circumstances are we're going to figure it out on January the 21st when President Trump takes office. We will begin that once again questioning that needs to take place about the effectiveness of work and how many workers are at work.
Congressman, I'm going to hold your feet to the campfire real quick. I looked at your X account, and there were two things that you wrote about more recently, that you were upset by the news that the planned government funding bill did not include funding for farmers and ranchers, and you were going to vote no on any continuing resolution. And then you also mentioned that the Department of Defense had failed 7 consecutive audits, and it was unacceptable, and there needed to be accountability and answers. Those two things are kind of the root of the problem when it comes to the enormous growth of government and how we wound up 36 trillion plus in debt, that all funding is sacred to somebody and somebody's constituents. And the fact that the DOD, the biggest department in government, other than like Medicare, is like some sacred cow, that it's gotten away with 7 failed audits. Those two things alone, enormous problems.
Well, in fact, they are enormous problems, and chairman of the subcommittee that looked at each of these matters that you're speaking of understood that. The Marine Corps of the departments within the Pentagon got an A for how they have performed in their audit procedures. The bottom line is that while you are correct, there are many, many more things that the DOGE Caucus will look at, and one of them is the $400 billion that was given away that went to criminal gangs from the COVID money. That had nothing to do with anything other than they simply rushed the money out the door and did not use the proper not only management tools but databases to check what they did. So there's enough to go around that says we're going to fix this, and it happens because Republicans and Democrats will work together. There was $1.7 trillion that the GAO said was waste, fraud, and abuse the last 3 years. We can get better.
Real quick, there's been a lot of liberal outrage over Trump's nomination of Kash Patel to lead the FBI, the FBI director. What is your sense right now? Do you think that he'll make it through? And what do you think of these arguments against him?
Well, I think Kash Patel is exercising with his insight the things that he saw when he was directly working for the Intelligence Committee here in Congress. Insiders will tell you that there is a vast difference between what is said and known, even in testimony in our courts, and what actual performance is of intelligence agencies. The intelligence agencies need to make sure, which Kash Patel will, are operating under procedures that not only meet the test of the law, but also of the Bill of Rights. And we believe that there are questions and answers that need to be given from the tops of these organizations, holding them responsible. Every single member of Congress at one point finds themselves at the bad end of data and information that these intelligence agencies choose to gather. And there's a problem. So I think Kash Patel will get to the bottom of it, and we need clarity on that.
You're confident he'll get confirmed?
I'm confident that he will for sure give very clear answers about what his intents are, and that is to fix the intelligence agencies to perform according to the law.
Thank you, Congressman. Congressman Pete Sessions, good to see you.